Welcome back to Soccer Cards United. It is episode 273 of the greatest soccer card podcast in the world. My name is Jason. That's Enzo. Hello, Enzo. What's on the show today?
Hello, Jason. I could have sworn it was 274. I feel like the 70s are dragging in. Today, we're talking about Women's Champions League knockout and the start of the Champions League knockout phase. The quarterfinals are on there the weekend. Or this during the week, should I say. Some big ticket items going to auction at Goldin as well. And Jason, we're going to touch on how to build, our take, I guess, on how to build a personal collection.
Oh, sounds like a good show. Let's hear the music. Right, Enzo, let's start, as you said, in the Women's Champions League knockout phase. So, sorry, I'm just focusing my camera, not pointing at you. There were the first legs of the quarterfinals. So anyone who's not familiar with the format of the UWCL, it goes straight to the quarterfinals and the knockout rounds. The teams in the quarterfinals are as follows, just so you know who's in the knockout set that we're going to be talking about. So Real Madrid and Arsenal. Real Madrid won the first leg of their quarterfinal 2-0. Bayern München and Lyon. Lyon won the first leg of their quarterfinal 2-0. Barcelona and Wolfsburg. Barcelona won the
4-1.
first leg of their quarterfinal 4-1.
Was it 4-1?
Yeah. And Man City beat Chelsea 2-0 in the final quarterfinal. So that's who we're dealing with. And therefore, that's who we're dealing with in this set from Topps, which came out the other day. You can have a look there. This is Topps UEFA Women's Champions League Knockout 2024-25, and it continues the theme of this year's sort of e-com products from Topps, these kind of online exclusive products, which is bulked up product, bulked up price. So this is one autograph and two numbered parallels per box. I believe this is the first edition of Women's Knockout that has an autograph per box, and there are also lucky bonus jewel autographs in random boxes.
Yeah, I think it's like 1 in 10, 1 in 15. Those are the kind of odds. I think maybe it could be 14 or 16. Right. My only issue with this, Jason, straight off the bat, is the box design.
Okay, tell us about this.
It looks identical to the men's one, and that always becomes a problem at card shows.
Yes,
it's
been a problem for a long time. Just go back to the first version of these products, because
they're always the same. Obviously, it's the one says women's and has the women's logo, one says Champions League has the men's logo, but it's just. People, the amount of times I'd have people go like, why are these prices different? And it's like, they're different products. And they're like, oh, like I think a color change, something, just so it's identifiable. Like if you're at a show looking for a women's product and you're scanning a table, it won't be immediately obvious that even is one, So I hate that they kind of copied the design. They should even just change the color. If they made that white, the box white, or just reversed it to silver with black writing or whatever, I'd like that. I have said that before to some people in Topps, but it hasn't hit home, Jason. But it bothers me at card shows.
They're not listening. For God's sake.
But even if you look at like eBay listings, it gets a bit blurry. You need to double check what you're buying.
Absolutely. The knockout design itself follows the men's knockout one, which on the card's not a problem, but on the box,
that's right.
Actually, I like the as we discussed when we talked about the men's knockout. I like the knockout design this year.
Big time.
You can see there all the heavy hitters coming in, some sort of field level designs as well, as we discussed. Back when we were talking about the men's. Yes?
I didn't see Impact there. I remember Impact got folded into the men's. I know there was never a women's Impact, but I wonder if...
I don't think there's an Impact subset, as far as I know. I'll just have a look at the checklist here. Enzo, you were just asking me before we came on air, had I heard of the controversy of the checklist? Do you want to just explain to anyone who missed that what was going on there?
So we have one auto per box now, which is obviously fantastic, but the checklist, when it went live, was missing the non-dual autos, the normal autograph cards. So no one actually knew who the signers were, and people were outraged, I think, some of them.
They're back in now.
Fantastic.
Although I'll tell you this, here's what was confusing to me. We're going to talk about the rookies that are in this set, because presumably they're going to be the rookies, or at least a lot of the rookies for the upcoming Chrome and stuff like that. And on this checklist, these are not all broken up by line. Some of these are the same name over two lines,
right?
Which took me a long time to work out. But yeah, so anyway, there's a bit of stuff with this checklist, but there are also these cool bonus dual autos, as we said. There's also an only one card. No idea whether that's a women's player or not.
You'd imagine it is, and you would also imagine it's the first women's player, although you wouldn't know because the nature of only one. Maybe there's a women's player in one of the other sets that have already come out.
Yes, indeed. And we did find, I saw on Topps social that Jude Bellingham only won came out of. I'm not exactly sure what product, but that's, I think, up to maybe 4 only ones now that we've got.
Jason, I know we'll touch on it later when we hit Goldin. Maybe you caught it, maybe you didn't, but there is an only one for auction on Goldin, and it's going to be the first, I think, public sale of an only one card that we've seen.
This is very exciting. That's very exciting. I look forward to having a look. Don't tell me what player it is just yet. So yeah, you got some cool dual autos here. You got Caroline Graham Hansen and Samuel Paruello, Bonmati and Putellas. These are kind of classic Barca heavy hitter dual autos. Yeah, Lauren Hemp, Alice Greenwood, Lioness's kind of dual auto there. Sandy Boltborn, Katarina Macario, presumably for Leon, I think. So yeah, so they're all nice if you hit one of them as a bonus. This is not the first time we've seen bonus autos or bonus kind of hits sprinkled throughout this year's online exclusive products, I don't think. Would you like to hear some things about the rookies?
Please.
And just while we're talking about this, this box did retail at £65 and €75, was it?
€70.
€70.
70, I think it was 70. Maybe 75.
I believe the £75 or £65 is $85 for any American listeners.
€75, just to clarify.
So that is significantly more expensive than previous versions of the product.
Yeah, but with an auto. And an auto, and I think 1 in 14 or something like that of a dual auto that I think is 10 or less. So beefed up, definitely, but yeah, beefed up price.
Yeah, and we could take a look at, we're going to have a chat after this about where the women's secondary market is in general. So let me have a look through these rookies. So Maria Mendez is a defender for Real Madrid. She's 23. She is one of three 23-year-olds on the rookie checklist. She's also a Spanish international who has 2 goals and 6 appearances for Spain. She's centre half. I don't know much about her beyond that. As far as she's goal scoring centre half. Think of maybe a Spanish example, Gerard Piqué, maybe some bit of a Sergio Ramos.
Puyol, getting those headers
in. Sydney Schertenlieb is an 18-year-old for Barca Femini midfielder. Here's a fun fact about her, right? She played with the boys. She came through the FC Zurich Academy, and she played with the boys teams up until she was 15. She's 18 now. So, whoa. Yeah, and that's a common. This is mostly Wikipedia sourced research, and that's a common line in a lot of female footballers' Wikipedia articles that they played with the boys' teams until they were X years old. So, anyway, Schertenlieb is a Golden Girl nominee. She just scored her first UWCL goal against Wolfsburg in that 4-1 victory that you mentioned, and so. Laura Blindkilde Brown is a 21-year-old midfielder from Manchester City. She was the Aston Villa Women's Young Player of the Season in 2021-22 and 2022-23. But because there's no WSL set, or at least there wasn't, I think Panini released an Adrenaline maybe for it this year.
Yeah, I think they released some bits. They've been released a lot of women's product. I think Italy is coming up soon as well.
Right, yeah. So, but they weren't doing that at the time. So, and obviously Aston Villa weren't in the Champions League. So. She's only now represented that she's moved to Manchester City. Another Manchester City player, Lily Murphy, 19, English forward, has represented England in 100-meter sprints at youth level, and is a bit of a pace merchant. Reminds me of when Salma was coming through at Barcelona, and that was when she was playing the World Cup for Spain. One of the commentators' favorite facts was that she could have been an Olympic sprinter, but she chose to play football instead. So, VK captain from the Netherlands, plays for Chelsea, 19. Spent last season on loan at FC Twente, which is where she came through, and is now playing for Chelsea. She was the youngest ever player to be called up to play for Holland at a World Cup for the women's team. Won everything with FC Twente in domestically in the Netherlands.
Did you verify she doesn't have a World Cup card?
I didn't, but I can do that right now, actually, just because.
It could be a fun one.
That could be a fun one. I'll tell you that she went pro when she was 15.
Oh.
And she was voted Talent of the Year in the Netherlands when she was 17. No, she has no World Cup card. So she was in the squad for the World Cup but didn't make it.
Okay.
Into the set. Aoba Fujino is a 21-year-old forward from Manchester City. Just moved there from Japan. Was the WE League, which is the women's league in Japan, MVP for 2021-22 and 2022-23. She is the youngest person ever to score for any of the Japanese senior football teams. Scored in the World Cup. Does she have a World Cup card? No, she doesn't, I don't think. Vivian Enderman, not a very exciting one. Striker for Wolfsburg and Germany. Got her first international goal recently in the Nations League. 23. Again, 23 is like kind of that rookie zone where you're like, you kind of feel like we would have heard by now. You know what I mean?
But then it's also like that's the push and push and push to young all the time. Do you know, in terms of
23 was super young for a football player like 10 years ago, and now
it's like 23. You're not the top scorer of the Champions League. Jesus.
Exactly. Katie Reid is an 18-year-old defender for Arsenal, a ball-playing centre-back and academy product for Arsenal, in the team of the tournament at the Under-17 Euros in 2023. And usually I wouldn't get too excited about the collectability of a defender, but the Arsenal women's collectors are a very, very strong constituency. And considering she's an academy product, I wouldn't be surprised if she's very collectible.
Nice chase, yeah.
Yeah. And then last two, Ariana Arias. This is not a very exciting one. 21-year-old forward, plays for Wolfsburg, but her Wikipedia page says she still plays for Barcelona because basically she came through the Real Madrid Academy, moved to Barca, then spent 2 years playing mostly for Barca B, where she scored a lot of goals, but never really broke into the first team. And then they sent her off to Wolfsburg, where she hasn't really played at all. So she's looking to revive her career, even at this early stage. Ariana Arias. And then a rookie who shouldn't really be a rookie is 23-year-old Jess Park from Manchester City. She has over 100 appearances for City. She has like 2 League Cups and an FA Cup. Apparently got an assist in an FA Cup final. She has 15 caps and 2 goals for England, including the winner in a 1-0 victory over Spain recently in the Nations League. So Jess Park is, I've checked, this is her first card, first licensed Champions League card anyway. So she's a big chase. So you might hear some of those names going forward. We haven't really had a big rookie in women's soccer since maybe the last World Cup cycle. But the women's Euros are coming up. So that's exciting. So people may have been interested in that. They may not have been interested in that, but I'd already done it. So I said, we're getting
into it. We're getting into it. Fair.
We're getting into it.
The big thing for us, Jason, no Katie McCabe on the checklist for the women's knockout, despite Arsenal being in, obviously, the quarterfinals of the Champions League.
I can't believe that Arsenal are such strong performers in the women's game, and Tops have the UEFA Champions League license, and they have the Arsenal license, and there is such a dearth of Katie McCabe cards. Come on.
Yeah, she doesn't have autographs. Like, is it that she's difficult to deal with? Is it just they don't know that she's crazily collectible over here? Come on.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening.
Yeah, that was disappointing. That was the one I ran to when I wasn't there. I was kind of hoping that Kate McCabe autographs, that would have really pushed this product, I believe. If you're talking about boosting up a product, I think that would have done the trick. Because
again, like, looking at those rookies, and we can speak to this from experience, that the women's game especially, the market is driven by collectors. And although obviously you want to get rookie cards out, and these are all highly rated, young players, etc., you do kind of like need to like look at who are those cult players, who is collectible, and maybe in a non-obvious way, because they will boost the attractiveness of the product very, very much.
Yeah, Kate McCabe's cards from Chrome and Sapphire perform very, very well on secondary, particularly low numbered.
Yeah. So maybe more of that would be nice. But Enzo, some people will point out the following. They will say this is coming out at the equivalent of $85 US, which would have been fewer US dollars, but they've taken a bit of a hit recently. If you look at the historical prices for women's products, the most expensive women's box out there at the moment, in terms of recent eBay sales, and this is not necessarily what you can buy them for, like 23, 24 Sapphire is extremely strong now. If you want to try and buy it, you probably have to pay higher than all of these, but the recent sales are like $110. It hasn't sold since it was selling for around that price, at least on eBay as far as I could see. For original Topps Chrome 21-22, it's $190.
Right.
So that's kind of like that, and last year's Sapphire, kind of $200 mark and above that. Like, that's kind of as high as you're going, basically. The year after that, 22-23 Chrome, $60 recently on eBay. Now, again, if you go to SoccerCardsUnited.com, or you go to Dave and Adams, or you go to Steel City, you're not necessarily going to buy it for that. But I'm just saying, when someone auctions it, this is what happens. The Sapphire of that year, you're looking at maybe a $70 recent kind of moving average. 23-24 Chrome, $80. I saw recent sales for 23-24 Sapphire, $110. Saw recent sales for. Again, you won't buy it for that now. 23-24 Knockout. Someone just sold a few of them at auction, like, you know, kind of a B, C, D listing or whatever, and they were averaging like kind of $40. No, obviously that was one in every 2 or 3 boxes was an autograph. Didn't have the dual auto chase, so this is a completely bulked up product. But you're looking at that kind of retailing for half. So basically, what the logic is: the only one chase, the auto per box, and the dual autographs, and you're looking at essentially kind of nearly a doubling in price.
But not like a doubling in where the market is, as opposed to a
doubling in where the market is, not retail. I think retail may have been like the equivalent of maybe, yeah.
It's a mixed bag. Like you'd imagine, like I'm looking at, for example, blowout cards have a sale on 23-24 women's Chrome.
Yeah.
And their price on that is $89.95.
Right.
And I'm trying to do, and if you buy by the case, you can buy a 12-box case, obviously a different thing. You get a discount, so it's about $85 by the case.
Yeah, and the recent eBay sales are about $80. So they're more or less in there. Just to say that the 2023 Knockout,
first year knockout, right?
That's first year Knockout. Yeah, that retail for £35.
But I think that one, does that one perform well? Do you have a comp on that one? I remember the very first women's Knockout was very short print and went really well. Went really well while there was no second year Chrome out.
So actually, this actually goes back to something you were saying earlier, which is I thought I found it, but actually I found the men's Knockout for that year, which is the same box design, and it just says UEFA Champions League instead of UEFA Women's Champions League. That one, I'm pretty sure, as you pointed out, is super short print, so almost impossible to find.
Yeah.
So
there's one listing. There's one listing at €188. There's 2021 Women's Knockout. Only 594 boxes made. So that, you know, if anything, that makes the price a bit bad. You know, not that high.
Yeah. I mean, like, what's interesting is you look at this, just to kind of finish off, the numbers are going to throw out the 2023 World Cup Panini fiasco. That was the Hobby Blaster. You can get them for about $75 on the secondary market right now.
That's crazy.
And again, like, to be honest, you look at this and you go, if you put up this women's Knockout against all of them, it actually is a good product. There is a chase, there is an auto per box. You know, like, it can actually hold its own. The question, more generally, moving off this specific product, is looking at all of these prices together. Why, beyond the ultra short print stuff, have we not seen? You know, because it kind of should go, the older you get, the more expensive it is, to a certain extent. That's not always true, even in other sports. But, like, what do you think is going on with this? Why are we not seeing increases in price reflected year on year?
I don't know. Like, does the first year set have? I feel like it does, but does it have the allure that you need a first year set to have, in terms of, does it have a big rookie? Does it have a draw to it? Like, you don't necessarily have to have a rookie that is a rookie. You know, a lot of them had rookie logos that weren't necessarily rookies, but same kind of vibe in F1, and F1 was perfectly fine first year stuff. Like, I think it's just wanting things to happen in 1 or 2 or 3 years, as opposed to 10 years, 20 years. Do you know?
Yeah. I almost think, for the growth of now this is maybe controversial, and certainly from a manufacturing point of view or from a licensing point of view would make no sense. But I almost wish, like, there had been a couple of products and then none for ages. So that, and I realize that obviously would not necessarily grow the market either, because there'd be no supply to meet any demands. People would just move away. But, like, I do think that the year-on-year Chrome thing felt like, and I mean, we saw it at the time, going to shows and chatting to a lot of WOSO collectors in our network. It felt like it was the same small community just being landed with huge print runs, and they can't possibly support the price or get through the product. And there hasn't been as much crossover from the mainstream soccer collecting as maybe Topps or UEFA or us would have hoped.
Yeah, it's kind of just being made the similar way that the men's gets made. It's just being like, it's almost like it's priced and print run not to demand, but to, like, an internal figure.
Yeah, almost as if here's where the men's is, so the women should be based on that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I'd say this. It's not really. I'm not really surprised as to why it's not growing. Because I know for a fact, like on this podcast, we will get comments underneath being like, "How did you spend 25 minutes talking about women's products? This is bullshit, etc., etc." Like that, and that kind of like dismissal. Because to us, like I remember having these conversations on the show in sort of 2020, like or when the first Women's Chrome came out, like to us, it may feel like if you're in that kind of sphere that we've kind of moved past those conversations. And occasionally, when there's a World Cup or when there's a Euros, particularly when England are doing well, obviously the USA it's totally different, and they have a long history of collecting women's soccer cards and just women's soccer being a cause of celebration in general. But I do think there's just been kind of a lack of adoption, and maybe that's just because if you're not in it, if you're not deep in it, there's not really that much that's exciting going on year to year to drag you in.
Do you think
Or it's not been marketed.
do you think it's been good or bad adding the kind of women's cards into men's product? Because I know obviously on one end you'll never get an Inception. You won't. They were not like. Is it better to throw women's Inception cards into men's product versus trying to give it a full release? I think it probably is from a supply point of view, and even like women's collecting point of view. You can still get an Inception card instead of not being allowed to have an Inception card.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that's also just kind of adding to a chrome
I
auto,
think,
not necessarily kind of having the weight that you'd want it to have?
yeah, I think probably, although there may be short-term pain in taking those women's cards out of the UEFA club competition, taking the women's license out of the club competition's license. That obviously there are some people who like to collect those cards. There are some people who, but I think the long-term effect of basically saying we're going to treat this as a standalone license. Like, for instance, we're not going to make the women's knockout box the same design as the men's knockout box because it's a different product. It's not just, I don't think the strategy of women's soccer should more or less just follow men's soccer has been useful. And I think in other parts of the women's game, whether it be like, you can watch the Women's Champions League for free in Ireland and the UK on DAZN's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
There are multiple different strategies they've adopted for a variety of things, that they've had to say, we're treating this like its own thing. We're not just putting it in the usual places and assuming that the men's soccer audience will just jump straight into it. So I think maybe decoupling it from that, putting it in its own thing and trying to grow it as a separate category is probably the better strategy at this stage, because I don't think the following the men's thing has worked really.
And I also like. I know it's tough because it's the same problem as men's soccer, that like the clubs are all over the world. But you'd think that like even with all the promotion and marketing that Fanatics does, like why not get behind something that's such a growing, like why is there not on-card autos in Chrome the way there would be in baseball? For women's soccer, surely it's not that difficult to pull that off.
Yeah.
Why is that not being done just to add a bit of fun?
Yeah, because like there's a few different things. Obviously, a few different drivers of people's interest in women's soccer. So one is like just the women's people who have always been into women's soccer and women and girls themselves. Then there's also like the club aspect. So like a lot of like Arsenal fans who are following the men's team just be kind of into the women's team because they're successful, and especially if there's that period of success happening, people get into it. We saw that, as I was saying, with England and the Lionesses and all that kind of stuff. So there's the club element. And then there's also the people who like collecting, but maybe don't want to necessarily pay men's hobby box prices. And that is a nice way to do it, to collect your club or collect your team or collect your country or whatever without paying what you see as crazy prices, even though they may not be the kind of prices people are used to paying in NBA or NFL or whatever. And I think, just kind of like thinking about who is buying this stuff. And not just thinking if we make it look like the men's stuff, people will buy it automatically, but thinking who is specifically buying it and what do they want? Like for instance, why is there no Katie McCabe and Knockout? Like,
I don't know. I assume Kate McCabe or image rights must be tough.
Through the roof. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get too negative, but like I will say, just like obviously we'll see now.
I'm excited for women's Euros because I think the World Cup product was so lackluster on paper and it was rough that the women's Euros could be fantastic.
I do think that Panini having such a lackluster product for the World Cup, I actually think set the women's soccer hobby back. I genuinely do. I think if they had taken the opportunity to do the first World Cup Prism Women's World Cup, that would have
short print.
Yeah, an exciting Prism World Cup product that everyone get interested just because it says World Cup Prism on it. Because that is actually one where it's like, it is the World Cup. It is only every 4 years. Like the strategy of just like do what you do for the men's World Cup actually probably would have worked there, whereas it doesn't really work in just do what you do for the men's Champions League.
Yeah, the World Cup product was shocking. Like when you listed, I think like the most expensive kind of women's product is about $200 thereabout.
Yeah.
World Cup Prism done right would have been a $300 box for sure. Do you know what I mean? Like how could it not be? Like, especially if it's short print, you have a lot of collectability in there with whether it's the kind of country logo, whether it's gold prisms, 101. It should have had the allure of 2014 for the women's. You know what I mean? Like it should have been a kind of iconic set,
a foundational moment.
A foundational moment, a foundational set. Maybe one that doesn't get appreciated immediately, but one that would forever kind of be harkened back to. Whereas the Donruss one is kind of one that you're trying to forget about.
Exactly, because obviously in 2014, Topps had done like Premier Gold and stuff with soccer cards. There were soccer cards around in various forms, but 2014 is kind of seen as the start of the modern soccer hobby. 2014 World Cup Prism, and as you say, this could have been a situation where Panini almost like wrestled control of the women's soccer card world from Topps and said, hey, you're doing your Champions League thing, but this is the World Cup, this is serious business, and here's World Cup Prism. And now it's almost like that's a platform, and as you say, it also will probably raise the ceiling of what a box can go to, and it's a platform to build on. And I just feel
it's inexcusable that went the way that went. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no reason to not make a short print World Cup Prism set first off the line, everything. Why not? Why not? It doesn't make sense. You have the license and you have Prism designs and you know how to do all of this. Like you have every single thing in your hands, and instead you wait until like the tournament was over for about 4 or 5 months and you put out a paper product.
Yeah. And I mean, like even you look at these Topps products that they do, and it's like, okay, so you're looking at an eight team product. In knockout, obviously Chrome and Sapphire, etc., will have a wider than that, but it's not that many teams competing in the Women's Champions League every season because there's a lot of knockout or a lot of like preliminary rounds, and then it doesn't end up with that many teams in it. And also, I talked about the ways people can get into stuff. National teams is such an avenue to get into something. People who have no interest, and whether we see this, like it may be the Olympics, you may have no interest, but the Winter Olympics, you have no interest in downhill skiing, but then you find out there's actually an Irish guy in the downhill skiing, and all of a sudden, like 2 days later, you're an expert in downhill skiing, and you're like, go on, So that was such an own goal. That was very tough, very disappointing. And I just feel like it hasn't caught fire yet. And is it a case of decades, not years? Maybe. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to find out. It's tough to wait.
It's tough to wait. That's it. I think like as well, as you said, with the Champions League having such few teams, and obviously the best teams remaining the best teams, for the most part, a lot of them teams are the same. Like I think Barcelona have been in all 3 Champions League Chrome sets, and they've had such a good squad. The majority of us kind of stayed the same, at least the big hitters.
Yeah,
it's kind of like there's fatigue there. Whereas like if you had a product, like one product, and you have like Puteas Chrome cards, Superfractor, whatever, red, but then you don't have that again repeated for maybe ever, it's like then you'll come back going, geez, that year that has that, and it's a mad card. Whereas now it's like we're already like, oh, there's 3 of them, it's gonna be another one, there's loads, but then there's not too much. I don't know. I think it's decades, not years. I think that's the vibe, and that's the women's game. But I do think it's moving fast. But I think the World Cup conversation there was important. I think that was a moment you could have elevated it and expanded, and you just didn't.
Yeah. And look, people may say, there may be like, maybe nobody is interested in this conversation. Maybe people who are into the men's stuff and not the women's stuff are like, I'm not interested in this. Maybe people who are into the women's stuff are having a perfectly fine time.
Having a great time. There's no flippers like, and it's also.
Why would I want it to be $300 or $400 a box? I can,
That's true.
So maybe we're just completely isolated. But that's where people now know where we stand on this stuff, I guess.
I mean, in fairness, if you're a women's collector and you want to open a box of the hobby blaster, it being $70 at this day and age is unreal.
Yeah,
that's bad.
I mean, I'm sure like there's people listening going like,
but they didn't have
buy away for club competitions for just a Chrome for $150 or whatever.
But they didn't have kabooms, Jason. What was that? Do you know what I mean? What? Why?
And the cards all curled up.
No, I know that was terrible, but like the edges were terrible. But it's like you didn't put. It was Donruss. It was World Cup. You didn't put in kabooms. Why is it not a Katie McCabe kaboom? Why can we not?
Why do I have to learn what a hobby blaster is?
Yeah, it's not good. What is a hobby blaster is the real question.
Right, okay, let's just take a break, gather ourselves, and come back to talk about Goldin and what they're selling in their March Elite auction when it comes to soccer. So, Enzo, this is the 2025 March Elite auction on Goldin. Extended bidding starts in 9 days and 9 hours, and there are some things that you would like to draw our attention to here, I believe.
Yeah, let me say. So first and foremost, the Lamine Yamal Superfractor autograph rookie from Topps Chrome, which is the highest ever sale, I believe, of Lamine Yamal card ever, is back up for auction. I would say almost a year later. I think it went.
Hang on. This is the Japan edition.
No, is it?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's good. Good catch, Jason. I thought that was the one that just sold.
Whoa.
You have caught my eye. That is the Japan edition. That was just hit recently. Okay, that changes everything. I thought this was the same one back up for auction again, and I was thinking, what kind of strategy was that?
Yeah.
Okay, this is Japan. Wow. Okay, I would say so. There's a Japan edition 101 Superfractor, and then beside it, Jason, is the Eurochrome 101 Superfractor auto.
Yes.
That Eurochrome one. That's the one for me. That is beautiful.
Very special. Just
that
wearing gloves in the summertime. Just incredible.
In his little number 17. Yeah. Euro. That card is a special card, in my opinion. Out of all the Lamine Yamal cards I've seen, Jason, that's the one I would want to own, I think. Obviously the Barcelona one's amazing as well. The one that sold, Japan one is incredible. I don't want to take away from it. But the autograph on the sticker looks a bit dodgy on that one, to be fair. But yeah, just that Spanish kit, Euro. I think that's just so important. I know there's no proper rookie logo on it, but we all know it's a rookie. He done
this
madness.
We're about to see what the national debut
what it carries, what weight it carries.
What it can do, yeah.
You go on.
Sorry, just to give everybody just a quick refresher course on what the Lamine Yamal Superfractor market looks like. The record sale is that auto from Chrome is that an 810? I think it is. $122,000.
Could I say, Jason, the guy who hit that card with his son on holidays, that's that card, was at the Dublin card show and bought boxes off us at our table and said to me, he was describing that story, and I had known the story already, so I immediately put the jigsaw together. But he bought off us and he said, you're getting a bit of that Lamine Yamal golden money. And he spent about €1,000 on our table on wax. And
that's a real honor for us.
I thoroughly appreciate that. So that's sale, you're looking at that 122,000. We got 1,000 of that, let me tell you.
Oh, very exciting. That was followed by the non-auto version of that, which is 103,000. And then we drop down to the next highest, which is an insert, the chapter.
Can I stop there?
Yeah.
There's always a debate, I feel, and I don't think I've ever gotten a distinctive answer to this, is that people will say the rookie Topps Chrome Superfractor auto is the card versus the non-auto is the card. I always hear a mix of both. Obviously, the numbers here, they're so similar and one is higher than the other. But I always hear people say, like, no, especially sticker auto, people are kind of like, no, not the auto. The auto is technically kind of an insert to a degree. It's not part of the base set.
It's the autograph variation. It's not the actual card itself.
Like, if you put a gun to my head and told me which one is the absolute grail, I don't have an answer because I always feel like I've never heard someone properly give me the answer. Like, maybe I want people to comment and tell me if there is, but I always feel like it's a mix. And if I was to have to give advice on that, I don't know what I would say. I think I would prefer the auto myself.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But they're neck and neck there. They're very close.
I'll tell you where I'm at on it is that I feel like,
because the other one gets a 10.
When you go to it, huh?
Yeah, the other one's a PSA 10. So like in that, if you take the grade into account, you're saying the auto is significantly better than the other one. Do you know what I mean?
Because you can actually have it, 2 grades below it and still goes $20,000 higher. But I would say it's almost like going to a nice restaurant, sitting in the window. They bring out some sort of very like fancy esoteric dish that everyone is raving about, but you're looking out the window and across the road there's a Burger King, and you're kind of like, I think I just prefer the Burger King. So it's almost like, I feel like as a hobby purist, I feel like the vibe I'm getting from my kind of like older hobby head traditionalist, sort of like what I feel I should like is the non-auto. That's what I kind of know that in my heart to be, that is your kind of, that's your Mickey Mantle, that's your Honus Wagner, that's your kind of like your, I want to prefer the non-auto, but in my heart of hearts, I kind of want the auto. It's much cooler.
Yeah, there's not one as well. The chapters insert is obviously Eurochrome as well. I don't like, it's a bit of it's proper insert, right? We know inserts don't get the same respect. So 50 grand there is about right, I guess, for what it is. But it would suggest that the Eurochrome one that's up now should go for more than that because it is not an insert. It's a.
You would imagine based on that, and again, we'll see how people rate.
Timing is obviously important.
Yeah, you'd imagine the Spain one that's up right now is probably going to end up in between the Chapter 24 and the. I would say kind of 50 to 100 is kind of where you're probably going to end up, but maybe not. Maybe it goes higher than them all. I'm not sure.
It's already at 25, so it's definitely performing well. The Japan one will be interesting to see where that ends up.
This is an 810, the record sale, isn't it? And
it's a 1010.
Huh?
This one's a 1010. The other one that's up.
This one's a 1010. Exactly. Yeah. So like that, does that mean something?
I think that I never heard of that one getting hit or pulled. I don't know if you've seen it or heard it. I didn't really hear this one. That's definitely. I think that's my favorite Yamal rookie card. To be honest, looking at it without digging deeper into, I'm sure they're gonna. Like when they put out definitive soccer, I'm sure they're gonna have him as a rookie still or something. There'll be a dynasty rookie. I don't know, but like that, I think is my favorite one. It's Euros. It's the autograph as well. I don't think I've seen the base Chrome Superfractor Euro card either, to be honest. I don't think I did. I have one box of Euro Chrome, Jason, here.
Maybe it's in there. Maybe
I might need to check the PSA pop report before I rip that, but I might need to rip it. That's a beautiful card. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's just very interesting to see. I think, because, we've talked about this many, many, many times, that the part of the driving force of Lamine Yamal is his resemblance to Messi and is his, obviously the Barcelona connection, all that kind of stuff. So my feeling is that the big money, I also prefer this, but my feeling is the big money is going to back Barcelona.
I just think it's rare, Jason. I think it's rare to see a superstar rookie have a beautiful rookie card in a beautiful set, Topps Chrome, right? Prism. An undeniable rookie as well. There's no like weirdness. Like if you look at Julian Alvarez, you're kind of like, when was his rookie year? What are we doing with the World Cup Prism? Whatever. And be in his national kit. Like, look how, like, if you're just a rich Spanish person, you must look at that card special. Like, that's crazy. Especially not ignoring like what he did at the tournament was immense. Like, he got the assist for the winner. Like, in the final, like he did what he did against France. Like, he had an incredible tournament as well by itself. But to look at that Spanish kit and just, how does that not just evoke? Like, I think no matter what, regardless of what he does in his future, there is like a nostalgia to that card of, if that was Italy, if that was like a Federico Chiesa, Superfractor 101 rookie and whatever, and not even the same because obviously Yamal played a lot better. But like, I can't look past that card. I know what you're saying in terms of the Barca resemblance, but like if he leaves Barcelona, what does that do?
No, I know. I that's what I'm saying. I agree with you that this
is the one. Like, how does this hit if he's lighting up the World Cup in 26 for Spain? If he, imagine if he peaks in 2026 in the World Cup in USA, wins the final, he's moving like a fucking Thierry Henry used to move back in the day, and just absolutely killing people. What does that card do subsequently, also in a Spanish kit,
Yeah, no, I don't.
That's my feeling. And how many Spanish kit rookies is there versus? I know like he has select, but like and FIFA select.
There's also a national debut element.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. That's still that almost ruins what is a perfect card. But could this be a card that actually? Jason's glitching in and out. This could be the kind of like foundational card that makes the national debut mean something to a degree as well.
Oh yeah, if this sets $100,000 ceiling on national debut cards, then it's game on.
You start looking who has a national debut. Oh my god!
Exactly. Yeah. Go and get the Nico Williams.
I think that's a special card. That's like I have Lamine Yamal 101 Superfractor rookie fatigue, but that card I do look at it and go, "Oof."
It's broken through your fatigue a little bit.
Definitely. I look at it. It's gone double. It's double what the Japan. I thought that wasn't the Japan one. Yeah, it's double the Japan one already. So there's obviously people that are also that want that card.
Yeah. We also have this full color gold Kaboom, which is at 10 grand already with 11 bits. Messi.
Less to be able to put in an insert in a set that came out this year, and it's Messi. It's not a rookie, and it can just do 10 grand 9 days out. Like that's
in a PSA 8.
That's what you want. Like that's proper case hit. That's a proper desirable card, modern soccer card, Grail, whatever. Like that's fantastic. I love to see.
Yeah. You have all sorts of Messi all over the place. It's Gold Vinyl 101 from 21-22 Road to Qatar. So that's how big Messi is. Road to the World Cup. Obviously, he won the World Cup, etc. Yeah. But like, we are truly in the Messi era of the soccer hobby. He's holding the whole thing up along with Lamine Yamal.
He is different.
you go down here. There's yet another matchups. This time a red of 149 PSA 9. It's a nice one. These, which we thought there was a point, this 2022 Top Stadium Club Chrome co-signers Messi Ronaldo 101 dual auto. There was a time when it looked like the pop of these was going to be unstoppably large.
Yeah, that the versions of this dual autograph was going to be
of Messi, and it seemed like there was a while. I think we had like 5 consecutive hobby products or something where there was a Messi Ronaldo auto, but thankfully that hasn't been the case.
Ronaldo seems to have stopped signing.
Yeah, Ronaldo went to Saudi Arabia and lost his pen, and now these have a chance to actually do quite well.
Yep, definitely good.
Yeah, definitely good. We have to pay attention to this one here, Enzo. This Pele Dynasty, which I actually saw. So obviously, we've been talking about that Pele Dynasty for a long time because there was a couple of years there where we go to the National and almost buy it, and then eventually got one last year. And I saw TFF recently picked up one.
Yeah, an all 5, but not graded.
And now there's one on Goldin. So
they're popping up. I like that as a trio, by the way. That's a brilliant 3-lot horizontal on-card autos of soccer card goats.
Yes, for sure. Fantastic. For sure. These flawless ones. Do you think Dynasty has had a positive effect on flawless? I mean, obviously the numbers would bear it out, but I just anecdotally I think it probably has.
Yeah.
UEFA Dynasty, I mean, coming
up. Flawless. I mean, Flawless, the biggest benefit to Flawless is that it happened once and never again. And it was national kit there for Messi. Obviously, there was mixes. But I just think there was a lot of Flawless is obviously the better product still.
And then we go down here. There's it's kind of, there's all sorts of stuff. But
that Buffon, Jason, that was one where I almost had to pull in some favors and say, can someone just buy that for me, please? That is unreal.
Yeah, that's a really nice one.
One of a kind, on-card auto. And he's there with his hands together going I'm going to cause havoc.
Would you say that's the only one?
It's one of a kind, only one, no doubt about it. It's unbelievable.
So is one of a kind, there's only one, there's only the one of one?
No. Oh, maybe, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. Is one of a kind the original only one? Probably.
One of a kind, yeah, it may very well be.
But only one has I think Buffon could have 2 one of a kinds in 2 different sets, whereas only one you can't. That's the logic. If you go up there, Jason, there's a 101 Christian Pulisic Vortex.
Oh yeah,
you missed the
end. 2017 Panini Revolution.
So I think that's technically a rookie. I think people kind of class that as a rookie.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of.
Yeah,
he's on the box of, but that's a weird card. I've never seen that before. So that's one for the Americans. If you go kind of, there's a few one of a kinds actually listed there, Jason. There's a few. Here,
yeah, we'll have to do some digging on one of a kind and see.
Definitely.
Did anyone ever have more than one of a kind?
Because if not, we have news for people.
Yeah. Call Panini's lawyers. We're getting a commission.
That Buffon upsets me because I really want it. Even though I don't love the white Eminence. I kind of it doesn't look like it's a 2018 Eminence, even though it is, but I just think it looks fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, get it away from me.
So, there's a complete set of 2021 Panini Obsidian black color blasts.
It's very specific.
Very, very specific, but very, very attractive.
That Pat Pardashev, by the way, for anyone holding that wax of 21-22 Bundesliga Sapphire, which was already on the floor, just to let you know, the 101 Haaland has been hit. That is devastating.
There's quite a bit of Cristiano in here. There's a Mo Salah Superfractor. Obviously, his low numbered stuff and his memorabilia do very, very well because there's no autos. Well, for other reasons, but also because there's no autos. Deco Drogba, UEFA. Not a pairing I would have picked, by the way, but here we are.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But you're not done yet, Jason. At the very
going.
Oh my God! Thank God I have a golden account. There you go. At the very bottom to the left is the first ever sale. It will be of an only one card, and of course it is a Lamine Yamal non-rookie, but only one.
Right.
There you go. I
think from Top Deco.
Yeah, I have not seen one sold. I've seen a few for sale, a few on eBay. The Ronaldinho was on eBay, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe the Jose Mourinho, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I haven't actually seen a sale of one. So this is going to be the first only one sale next to the one of a kind sales. So
I'm just going to quickly read out what the description of this lot is because I'm interested to see how Goldin communicate the idea of an only one. Offered is one of Lamine Yamal's most fervently coveted chase cards. They're doing a lot of favors there to the Only One brand. The Only One autograph collectible from 24-25 Topps UEFA Club Competitions production. Only One cards are completely singular inserts with no parallels, image variations, or base cards, making this an extraordinarily unique commemorative celebrating the FC Barcelona and Spain phenom. So there you are. The limited edition piece hails from a print run of a single copy, as evidenced by the Topps Only One logo on the card front.
I think the only thing people seem to not understand or wasn't communicated well with Only One is that next year, every other year, forever, they'll never do another quote unquote Only One Yamal card. I don't think people understand that. Not that, but the thing is that needs to matter. At the moment, that doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean?
It's just one per player.
Yeah, ever, all time, not per season.
Yeah.
Kind of like the living set, only I think if they change club, you don't get a new one.
Right. So this is obviously 9 days left, as we said, 1,600. Very interested to see how this one performs. I'm also going to point out this Lamine Yamal Rookie 101, which is manufactured by Daka, the Chinese car manufacturer, and graded by CGC, and is at $550 with 9 days left. This is the power of Lamine Yamal. That he's sitting in here in a Daka card in a CGC slab, and it's a horizontal card,
and he's doing okay,
and he's doing fine,
doing just fine. Well, I suppose if you're almost banking on the company in that regard, because if you can get that for like 4,000 or 5,000, say, but the equivalents are doing 100,000, surely there's some scope for you.
I suppose so. Okay, no such write up for the for the Gigi Buffon one of a kind autograph. There's no kind of like this is a one of a kind collectible, nothing about that. So, right. Was there anything else you want to touch on Goldin before we move on?
You cleared it. You cleared it all for me. I don't have that in there.
Okay. Then let's move on. Okay, Enzo, we talked, I think last week, I think it was last week on the show that featured every news story in the hobby about Panini's new collaboration with FIFA as they deepen their ties. Deepen their ties, get their claws ever further in there into FIFA.
10 toes down into that licensing agreement. They don't want to lose it.
And this is, they've done a Panini drop on FIFA Collect, which is FIFA's digital collectibles platform. Right. And it is, I can't tell how am I supposed to read this like surprise or what? I don't know.
I think it's Surprise Panini Legacy. Maybe it's called Surprise. Is that the name? The first ever
the drop. Oh yeah, look, surprise pack.
There you go.
Okay. So for the first time ever, FIFA Collect is celebrating Panini with an exclusive digital collection honoring the legendary Panini album covers of the 1970s to today. This is a unique opportunity for collectors to relive over 50 years of football history through covers that have defined generations of fans. So basically this is a digital collectible, which is all of the Panini World Cup sticker album covers.
Right.
Which is not where I thought this was going, by the way.
This might just be the start.
So
wait, I want to
yeah.
Each album encapsulates the excitement of its era. Okay, now I'm trying to see like what's in. What is it?
Okay, so in addition to collecting these memorable album covers, so basically this is the various things you can get when you open a pack. You can get the various album covers, but in addition, fans will have the chance to find exclusive city experience or TB bundles, allowing them to attend multiple matches in a single host city during the FIFA World Cup 2026. City experience RTBs will be available for matches in the following host cities: Atlanta, Houston, San Francisco, Miami, and Seattle. The team and city experience are a brand new feature where fans can unlock bundles containing RTBs from multiple matches in the same city within 1 week, providing unforgettable experience. They offer 600 ticket opportunities for collectors who want to attend multiple matches in one location. Why join this drop? It's the first ever FIFA Collect and Panini collaboration. It's a nostalgic collection. You get the exclusive city RTBs. You can unlock the rare 1970 Panini album cover in Italian. And it's apparently a must-have for collectors. So these are all the things you can hit. More than 10% of the surprise packs contain one among the below exciting rewards. So, I guess that's exciting.
Are you going to buy one?
I wasn't really planning on it, but look at this. Tells you the price, tells you the supply, tells you the odds, tells you they've actually done a better job here than they do with their physical product. I would love this.
Oh, why can't you have
Can
that?
I know the total supply of base kabooms?
1.55% burned. So obviously burning is a mechanism of destroying stuff. I know that from NFT world. So some things have been destroyed.
Yeah.
Probably to redeem rewards, I would imagine. Iconic odds 8%. Jesus Christ, doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah. So you can find all sorts of different packs, including the Club World Cup.
Iconic World Surprise Panini. I want to win an experience, Jason.
Well, if you want an experience, you got to go to collect.fifa.com and start the.
Come on,
I
don't want to win an album cover. I do want to win an experience in Atlanta.
Yeah, you can even get a coupon to spend on. I don't know what more.
I think that's a gift. I think you can gift it to people. That's the idea there. That's what I would imagine.
That's exciting.
There was a moment there I wanted you to buy one, but I think probably best we don't.
Yeah. Right. So that's just to address that. So Enzo, I want to talk about personal collecting.
Okay.
I first want to ask you: have you got any collecting projects you want to, or do you not want to tell anyone what you're collecting at the moment because you don't want people to sell to you?
I'm going to buy out every single Panini Collect pack that I just seen as soon as this podcast ends, and I'm going to have all of them because now I know the supply. I can do the maths. I'll just buy it all.
That's your new personal collection.
Yeah, my new personal collection is several experiences in several US cities in 2026. Okay, let me think. I could say it on the podcast, I suppose. I don't think there's anything that I'm not. Okay, so various collecting things. I am trying to complete the full blue color sets of a few sets.
Okay.
And I'm planning to expand that as I complete a full blue set. I'm planning to expand it into other ones. Like I'm casually, and this is very important to say, casually doing the 2017-18 Chrome blues. Very expensive and very annoying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to be buying. If you have some, don't tell me. Basically, not you, but people keep messaging me being like, yeah, man, I have 2 blue cards and shipping is 50 quid. I'm like, no, I need to be, when I'm at a show and I see a card, I'll buy it. Yes. I'm not, if it's on ComC and it's a good price, I'll get involved. I'm doing that one very casually. There's 150, so like they're easy enough to do. There's not impossible. They're around, exactly. So I'm not paying shipping on 100 different cards or whatever. But I'm trying to do all the blues. So the blues, finest flashbacks from 22-23. Admittedly, because I've ripped a lot of, I ended up with a lot of blues and I started doing it. Yeah. That one I'm like 30 cards short of doing. So my plan is once they're done, I want to get them all framed. So essentially I want a wall of blue cards, basically, which I think
a blue wall.
Nice. A blue wall. I'm trying to make a blue wall. So that's why I also don't want them graded. Get your graded cards out of here. They're not going to fit into my little frames.
Right, yeah.
I have one of the years, I want to say 22-23 as well. Maybe 21-22 maybe of Inception. I'm missing, I think, Declan Rice and Danny Olmo, only 2 cards. So that's going to be the first one I complete for sure. I just can't bring myself to pay for Declan Rice. And Danny Olmo has hit a purple patch and it's really upsetting. Heung-min Son was also part of that trifecta, but I thankfully got one of them. So that one's nearly done. So I'm trying to just kind of casually do that. I'm not doing 2014 World Cup Prism, partially because it's so expensive and partially because it's an incomplete set, people. There's unlicensed cards in there. I'm not sticking that in. No, thank you. Get out of here. People don't say that enough. People don't say that enough about 2014. That is an unlicensed set. I'm never trying to complete 2014 World Cup because it's unlicensed. Licensed cards, I'm all about it. Same thing with the Euros, right? The unlicensed stuff is dirt, and it's the same for 2014. People just don't like talking about it because of the nostalgia. That's right.
And as we discussed earlier on this very same episode, 2014 is kind of a sacred cow in the soccer hobby. It's the foundational text, so you don't kind of badmouth it or else you'd be excommunicated.
That's right. So apologies. Jason, I'm sure will edit that out. Positive. So I'm doing that. I'm trying to buy all of the 1-of-1 Frosinone cards from Serie A Select. I have 2 of them. There's 13 in total. I've missed out on one of them. They went in a Facebook group for €145. Broke my heart. But it's good to know it's out there. I think, and that was Sule, who's playing well for Roma. So I think as soon as he moves to Trabzonspor or something eventually, I'll be able to get that card. Because he's not the second coming of Jesus Christ, good as he is.
He's not going to replace Paulo Dybala on that Roma team. And
so I'm just going to have to wait that one out. It's good to know it's out there. Apart from that, I'm trying to buy them all. have two of them. One of them is a Sule, thank God. There is one more one of one Sule out there, so I need to get that
Yeah.
before a Roma fan who thinks they're going to win the Champions League cops onto themselves. So I have that, and then obviously I just have AC Milan and Italian one of one pretty much PC as well.
Yeah.
For the Italian stuff, I do kind of get, like, if it goes down to of 10 or of 5, depending on the card, if it's a beautiful patch, I'll get involved. Older stuff I'm always about. A gold prism, I'm never going to say no. So that's my personal collecting. So they kind of go like Italian and AC Milan kind of did come across my desk as we kind of travel to different shows, and as people message me, stuff pops up on eBay. Did you see what we were linked in on eBay late last night at 2 a.m?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
How do you feel
Very
about that?
cool.
'Cause I feel like you never pick up that specific type of collectible, let's say.
He is the only player that I
would?
have ever considered doing in a full way. But
You're not even talking about collecting anymore.
I can't quite bring myself to, because it's like he has a lot of cards.
But is that not one of the main ones, or is it? Like, I don't know. Was that the first version of that? Was it the first super premium, or?
I'm not sure, but I'll keep an eye. I won't bring that one up because it may still be.
That's why,
on.
Something is being auctioned, so we don't want to talk about it, of course.
Yeah. Right. So basically, so you have your structured ones that are set collections.
Yeah. And
then you have kind of general categories that you as you come across them. But like in terms of like how you go about this, you were saying you don't really like to go on eBay and just pay for things because it's not really that fun.
It's not fun, and it's just I'm not like only because we're people that will travel to so many shows. We're people that kind of have so many people on our Instagram and talking to us in our communities that it's like I shouldn't really ever have to pay shipping if I'm gonna like if you have cards I want and you're in Germany, like I've done this. Like if you have cards I want and you're in Germany, particularly if it's 101, I'll be like, are you going to any German show this year? Yeah, I'm going to be in Frankfurt. Cool. I'm going to be there too. So I'm not paying shipping. Just if you're willing, will you hold them for me? And we can meet in person. I can get them.
Yes.
I'll pay for you. I'll pay for the cards now. All is good. And like for the most part, I kind of find I always kind of end up in a situation where that's possible. I'll pay shipping if I have to. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Depending on the card, but like especially if it's lower end stuff, like it's not a 101. Like 101 mostly I'll just pay for it and get it. But like lower end stuff for set collecting, like if someone has 50 blues and I know I'm going to see them in London, I'm just like, can I just pick them up in London? And most of the time people are happy enough to do it because they'll be there.
Yeah, because also you're not worried really about price movement. Like it's not like I need to get this card in because I actually think he's going to perform well in the Champions League final that's coming up, so I need to have it on hand. No, it's just like I'll get this because this is a long-term project. That's probably one of my favorite things about collecting. And maybe people would say it doesn't have to be a personal collection. It can be you can hold on to something, an investment for long term. But I feel like the hobby now, maybe not right now, but it has over the last few years been so short term and so like kind of month to month, game to game, season to season, that like it's really nice to just be like, this is kind of just an ongoing project and I'm not worried about completing it at any particular deadline, and it keeps me interested. And yeah, there's something nice about just like doing it and things at a relaxed pace.
Both of my 101 Frosinone select cards are not in my possession. One is in America and one is in Italy, and I think I'm getting one when we go to New York. And I'm getting one probably when I go to Milan. I'm probably going to go to the Milan show. I haven't decided yet, but probably.
Yeah. Well, you enjoyed it last year, didn't you?
Yeah. Thought it was nice to be in Milan.
So this came up for me recently because of the Dublin show, the second edition of the Dublin show. And obviously I have accumulated a huge amount of Irish cards over the last few years, even with the proviso that I only collect Ireland players in an Ireland kit. There have been a few exceptions to that throughout the years, but still ended up with a lot of kind of random cards, high numbered parallels, inserts, all that kind of stuff. And we had to decide when we were going through, you were asking me like, what out of this stuff, like what can go on sale basically. And so after that, I thought, I actually should probably sit down and figure out what I'm trying to collect and what I'm not trying to collect. Just because even I only collect Ireland players in an Ireland kit, does that mean if you see like an of 225 finest parallel, you have to get it? I don't really want that to be the case. Do you know what I mean? So I ended up narrowing it down to a few different things. One of which, and I'd like to hear your advice on how I can go about this. One of which is, so the 1994 World Cup in America was covered by Upper Deck in a product, space only. And my collecting goal for that is there's different language versions. But the main version is English, Spanish. And PSA, if they graded them recently, they'll say what the language is. If they graded them in the past, they would just say what product it was from. But now it'll say English, Spanish, English, German, etc. And so what I want to do is I want to have a full set of the Ireland players. There are, let me just say I have it in front of me. There are 13 Ireland players in that product. I want to have a full set of the English, Spanish cards from Ireland in a PSA 10 slab, a full slabbed kind of set of them. And here's the problem, though.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the pops are non-existent.
Yeah, they're not exactly high.
They're not exactly high. So the only person who has a PSA 10 pop is Roy Keane. There's 15 PSA 10s.
You're saying we have to grade these?
Yeah. Dennis Irwin has two, particular PSA 8 and a PSA 9, but I only want PSA 10. So I'd love to hear people's thoughts and maybe your thoughts on what that looks like as a.
That looks like acquiring loads, grading them, and hoping.
Yeah, but that doesn't seem sustainable. So I don't know what.
I mean, you have to have a good eye. But they're so old. That's tough. Like,
Yeah.
have you checked if any of the Irish players have graded cards in different languages? For example, one that could be incorrectly holded from the past.
No, Roy Keane and Dennis Irwin are the only
Graded
in
period,
any language. Yeah. So I think because I mean these base cards, if you come across them, are $1 or $2 in the States.
I'll say this, Jason. What you should do is follow my tactic of having a nice frame. At which point, now you want them all raw, not graded. At which point, job done, and have it in a very nice presentation. You could have it maybe, I don't know if the starting lineup was part of that 13 players. Maybe you could have a starting lineup and a manager. You could stick a little photo with a manager there, and you'd be delighted. You'd be thrilled.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing I have to do is, and I've seen people do this. First of all, I have to make sure I have copies of all the cards raw.
Definitely.
And then what people will do sometimes is they'll upgrade. They'll say, right, I got it raw. I graded all my raw ones, and now I have like a slabbed version. Some of them are 7, some of them are 8, some of them are 9, some of them are 10s.
Now, famously, when you're trying to upgrade an 8 to a 10, other people will have graded it as well. And you can actually make that upgrade.
Yeah.
You're in charge of the upgrade. I think you need to find someone in PSA that'll take, or you want them to be 10s. That's the thing. Because if you just authenticated them all, then they're all slabbed. But that's not what you want.
No. Anyway, so we won't spend the whole time on that. The other thing is Prism Euro 2016, which is there's a black 101. That's on my list. There's the green to 5. There's a gold to 10, and then there's also, I recently found out, there's a short print, unnumbered white parallel in that, which I think is super short print in that set. But again, Euro 2016 is not a set that you ever really see come up, and it's not a set that you can actually open because, like a lot of older like Prism stuff, it's way too expensive to open based on what's in the box.
It's hit the echelon that we were earlier saying that the women's game should be hitting, and all the women's collectors are like, absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm now actually seeing why, from a certain point of view, the women's hobby is in a perfectly healthy space, and I should just keep my mouth shut. Because it's at a point now where it's like, what would even be in a box of Euro 2016?
Nothing. I mean, you're still chasing some Zlatan prisms that do very well.
Yeah, you're looking for Zlatan gold prism. You're looking for Ronaldo.
Yeah, won it that year. I did see, I think GBW Jack put up a post. I don't know if you've seen it, Jason. The top 5 Irish sales of all time. Did you see it?
Yeah. I think actually I remember watching it, and at least one of the cards we paid double for what.
Yeah,
than the public sale.
Oh no, yeah, we actually should have been in the top 2. Actually, probably top 3 of that. They were all off-record sales. He was obviously going off just eBay. He should have knocked on our door to let us know what.
Yeah, we could have told him the private sales are much higher.
Private sales are a lot higher than that if you're selling to the boys. But in that, it showed 2 different Robbie Keane 101 prisms from 2016 have been ripped and sold,
including one from a sale from 2016.
Yeah,
did you see that?
And I reckon that's an LA Galaxy fan. To be honest, that's who would have been switched on in 2016 buying that. So
yeah.
There's definitely they're out there. Maybe they'll pop up someday, Jason. Someone has them. That's the mad thing. Someone just has them.
Oof. And you know, it's one of those things where, like, And this is something I want to ask you about as well. Is like you kind of touched on it, but it's like a lot of this stuff. Like recently, I missed out on a card that I just thought was just priced slightly too high, and it was like a card that like never really comes up. It wasn't that much money, but it just was like it's. I'm now discovering that my personal collection, like, I have a lot of competition now from Irish collectors.
Yeah.
And now I'm just kind of like
I don't know if I know what card that
being
is, Jason. We can chat off air.
we'll chat
if you like.
off mic, yeah. But it's like I was really enjoying it when I had no competition, and now it's like, right, are we actually going to do this? Like, I'm like, as soon as I start like competing with people for these cards, or like,
Price went up.
It's going to get. How do you find that when you're collecting AC Milan or Italy stuff? Like,
no, but like, so at the moment, I would say I collect very quietly because I don't want to be, taken advantage of, and I can be taken advantage of. People have tried.
Yeah.
So Frosinone is my kind of weird one because that's the one that I don't really have a lot of competition on. There is competition out there, I know that for a fact, but not a lot of it. And a lot of it, I believe, are the people buying Sule who I know will give up eventually.
Yes.
So my difficulty is I've been doing that quietly, but like I missed out on a Sule 101 for €145, which I would have paid double for. I would have paid 300 probably.
Yeah.
250 minimum, or maximum maybe. But it's like, if I was more vocal, would that card come to my desk before it went on a Facebook group? So I can't decide if I should be screaming at everyone and saying, if you have one of these cards, I'll buy it off you for X price, and will that get it? If you put up, like, think about this, if you put up a post on Soccer United and said like this, share this, I'm looking for Irish kit 101s, I am buying well, like it, share it, I'll give away, if someone can link me to it, I'll give them $100 or whatever, like if you're going to facilitate that. Do you think mad shit is going to start showing up, Jason? Probably.
Yeah,
and it's like, right, but then on the flip side, does mad stuff show up that should be $200 that are now $1,000? That's. I don't know if I believe in the goodness of the community, or have you just set out a beacon to say if you can go to a card show in Asia and find an Irish card, you can double your money off, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, one of the reasons why I've done this is that I don't want to. I mean, I do collect. I have bought some Ireland 1-of-1s that kind of appear, but I've also not bought Ireland 1-of-1s from people. And one of the reasons why I wanted to move to this kind of like more, at least for now, these kind of multiple projects that I'm working on. The other one is 2016-17 Select and Women's World Cup Donruss.
Which you can open very cheaply.
Yeah, it turns out I should just open that. All the cards are available for a total of $150. But it's like, because I don't just want to buy 1-of-1s, because even just aesthetically, I'm like, a random collection of 1-of-1s, I think I'd rather at this point have, this is from this major tournament, this is from this major tournament. These are all the best cards from these kind of appearances, because you can get taken advantage of pretty quickly if you kind of have a target on your head that says, sell me your X team kind of 1-of-1. So it's tough to know how to price PC cards as well. But I think you have to be my advice would be, you have to be a little bit ruthless, and you have to kind of like, you can't overpay, even though obviously you can overpay a little bit if you want to, but you have to kind of think of it as a long-term project. And like this will probably come up again at some point, and there's no need to just like go completely way over comps to similar players or similar teams or whatever, just because you want it. Because like when you're on eBay late at night and it's like, oh, I'm gonna get this card, like, and then the next day it's like, I'm glad I didn't spend €800 on that card.
Yeah, that's true. It's tough for me. It's just trying to like, so AC Milan, I have found AC Milan very difficult because any card that's kind of worth having, there's so much demand. It's crazy. Like most of the 1-of-1s I have, I either hit myself or stumbled into it before it hit market, and I got lucky. People messaging and being like, someone sent us an email once with a Pirlo 1-of-1. I was like, yeah, there's a bit of a nick at the back, but look at how great they ripped a case of product and they got some Yamals. They look at how great this was, and I was like, it's not Pirlo for sale. And he was like, yeah. I'll sell it. And we found a good comp, we found a good price, we bought it, and ever since then, like, people see that in my collection, they're like, where'd you get that? When'd you get that? And it's like, haha. So for the AC Milan, you need to sneak them. I feel like Italy is not as competitive as Milan. I feel like Italians are not collecting as heavy. Maybe don't have the spending power. Maybe they're not really clued in. Maybe they're really focused on their like Serie A teams or whatever. And I think like kind of the Asians that kind of historically have a lot of those Italian cards from back in the day, who are probably collecting them because they love the Italian teams, and they just said, all right, it's an Eminence in an Italy kit, but that's a Buffon, and I support Juventus, so I don't care.
Yes.
And now I feel like they're starting to become more available. So I feel like the Italian high end is not as difficult as the Milan is.
But again, you're also quite disciplined, and I've seen this many times. You have particular Italian players that you're interested in, and like if you genuinely don't remember watching somebody, you're not going to be drawn into buying. You're just like, I don't know who really he is. I don't care.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty much like 2006 World Cup is obviously peak, and that was a tournament that was the closest tournament to me that I've ever watched. Like whatever. So all of those players, I have a very big soft spot for, and particularly as well, I go even more particular if they're wearing that kit in the card, which a lot of them do have that, but then a lot of them don't.
Yeah.
So like I see that Buffon one of a kind isn't in 2006 World Cup kit, so it means a little bit less to me. I'm not like drooling over it in the same way I would be if he was in the gold 2006 kit, which some of the eminences he's in that kit and stuff like that. So yeah, I kind of try keep it to, which makes sense if you're talking collecting, to the memory that is kind of best memory. You know, like if Atletico Madrid, with all due respect, Jason, had won a Champions League, that season of Champions League winners, you'd have the exact same affinity towards them. Like it's that kind of, I think winning tournaments matters. Do you know what I mean? That's it. Like winning the Premier League, suddenly you're looking at that kit that they won the Premier League in differently and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe Real Madrid are the only ones immune to it. Every season there's a Champions League win.
It's just expected.
That's right.
It's just the expectation. So again, in my mind, this was quite a low energy show. So I hope people, I apologize in advance. Maybe there's no need to apologize, but I feel like we are.
It's a Thursday show. It's late. We had a lot to do.
We kind of been broadcasting this. I feel like there's been a slight horizontal energy from us. Kind of like, you know. So if you've been wondering when it was going to take off and it never did,
next week, people, come on.
Next week. And yes, right. So have a good weekend, everyone. Is there any other business?
No, apart from the fact that it's been super sunny in Dublin recently, and we're very happy with that. Happy St. Patrick's Day, belated St. Patrick's Day to everyone and anyone that celebrates globally, because we missed that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. No, I'm happy enough, Jason. I'm happy enough to end it there. There's a few bits to do to close out, and I would like some late lunch.
All right, we'll get into some late lunch, and you have a good weekend, and we'll see you next Wednesday.